The same thing happened in Mexico when the Spanish first took over the Yucatan. They collected all the Mayan codex books they could and destroyed and burned them. There's only 4 Mayan codexes that are still known. I mean, and this is a purposeful destruction where dictators and despots, they want to destroy the past. They want history to start again with them.
That's right.
And they do it by burning books, destroying libraries, and destroying knowledge, destroying universities. I mean, this all leads as well to the dark ages of Europe, really. And that time where knowledge was just kept by the church. And in fact, what really ended the Dark Ages in Europe was the invention of the printing press, and which was in Germany when Gutenberg created the first printing press and printed the Bible. This is really what changed the world, because up until that time, only priests had the Bible, and only priests could read. And so, for you, a normal, just lay person, that wasn't for you to read the Bible. I mean, not only would you not have a copy of the Bible or any book to read, but you couldn't read anyway, and that was for priests to do. They would read the Bible for you. They would tell you what was in the Bible. You would go to church, and they would read the Bible and tell you. But when suddenly anyone could go out and buy a Bible and read it for themselves, this really changed the world. Now, that's one of the things that's so important about ancient India, is that India is like the only country in the world that really goes back to thousands and thousands of years that hasn't had its libraries destroyed. I mean, there are still books in India. They're thousands of years old. They're written in ancient Sanskrit, and there are still people who can read them today. But I mean, that is unique. All other cultures, the writings, the books have been destroyed. People can't read the writings. Ancient Chinese is like that. Egyptian, of course. Even, Sumerian, the Mayan books, things like that, where they've all been destroyed. But so that thread, that connection to the ancient past that's so mysterious is destroyed as well.
Wow. Yeah. And as you say, I mean, in some instances, I think that this is, as you say, very much purposely done because of the madness of a single dictator or whatever. And actually, in some cases, I think that they actually might not have burned everything. That there actually are some kind of archive somewhere. I mean, how do we know what actually happened during the Inquisition or whatever? When the conquistadors came over to South America, for example. There might have been, there might be texts, still preserved. I don't know. Any ideas about that?
Well, no. I mean, that's a good, I think, point to make, is that now you have these stories of secret libraries, and secret libraries like in South America. I mean, that's one of the really strange things about South America, is that supposedly they didn't have any writing there. Although, in my books, I do talk about that, and they probably did have writing at one point, and it was ordered destroyed. There are stories of secret libraries in Ecuador. There is writing has been found, gold tablets and things like that. In Mexico and Guatemala, you have stories of these golden tablets of the Maya and secret libraries of Mayan books and things like that. That's one of the things that's also supposed to be around the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, is what they call these secret hidden records and the hidden libraries of Atlantis or something. And some people have maintained that, underneath the Great Pyramid or inside the Great Pyramid or underneath the Sphinx or something like that, these lost hall of records, they're called. And in theory, what's inside these halls of records, these are, like Atlantean golden books. It's interesting, the whole idea of crystals, and the idea that today with lasers and CD players and DVD players, You can take a crystal, a quartz crystal. Anything made out of crystal. A crystal skull has an example also, and by using a laser, I mean, you could take a quartz crystal or something, and you could encode it. You could put an entire encyclopedia of knowledge inside a crystal. Crystals are naturally made of these lattice work of atoms that are naturally like a CD, and they can hold tons of information. So, you could have a crystal library, and when people found it, like they would almost Nicholas Roerich, the famous Russian-American explorer.
Yeah.
He found crystals like this too, and if you go to the Roerich Museum in Moscow or the one in New York City, you'll see some of Roerich's crystals on display, and they are these huge, perfect, ancient quartz crystals. And to a normal person, you can look at it and you would think, oh, it's beautiful crystal, an unusual, and large, quartz crystal or something. But yet, that quartz crystal could be encoded with all kinds of information. If you look at the old Superman comics and movies, one of the things that Superman does is he goes up into the Arctic to his fortress of solitude that he has up there. Yeah, and when he wants to access information there, he does exactly what they probably did in Atlantean times of things. He takes a quartz crystal, and then it is, some special message or something from his father, Jor-El or whatever, and he puts that crystal into a little holder there in the Fortress of Solitude, and then bang, you have a holographic projection suddenly comes out of it, and there's some message from the past or whatever.
Wow, yeah.
But that's a lot of like what might be in these halls of records, these crystal libraries. You would probably want to have, if you were having real books, inscribed, you'd probably want to have them made out of gold. I mean, it's one of the problems is that trying to preserve knowledge for long periods of time is that, materials naturally degrade and just turn to dust and things like that. But certain things are indestructible. Gold is indestructible. All gold from ancient times still exists today. You cannot destroy gold. All gold jewelry and coins and everything from ancient Egyptian times or before, all that still exists today. Quartz crystals too they can be shattered and destroyed, but they're just so hard they are virtually indestructible. So you have kind of whole ideas like that. How are you going to preserve knowledge?
And that's fascinating too, because often when we think of technology, we think of the way we have it, in the current form, that this is mechanical, digital, or electrical involved, electrical mechanics. But this kind of technology is more, how should I put it, more organic in a way. And the question is, of course, how the heck do you store information in here and so forth. But speaking of crystals itself, this is fascinating. And I guess that we could tie in the crystal skull here, because I at least have heard that the crystal skull is allegedly people who handle this skull talks about that there almost is a kind of a sense of communication with the skulls. Have you heard about this?
Well, yeah, and I have handled the famous Mitchell Hedges crystal skull. That some years, about 15 years ago, that crystal skull came here to Adventures Unlimited, where I am now. And in fact, a curious thing happened, kind of like that, was. We brought it over to we have a magazine and a club called the World Explorers Club, and you can see that too on our web pages. And we went to the clubhouse where we have a pool table there, and there's some video games and a private bar and things like that. And we had a game there that was turned on, a video game, like a Pac-Man game kind of thing. And we had left it on, and we had the crystal skull was on the pool table, and we were taking pictures and looking at it and things like that. And Anna Mitchell Hedges, who she just passed away just within the last year, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's the crystal skull's kept nearby in Indiana, actually, so it's only about 100 miles away from here.
Mm-hmm.
But when she took the skull and left, we noticed a curious thing, and that was that the video game had completely frozen. And we had never seen this before or after. I mean, it didn't go bad, but it had, and we knew the crystal skull had done this, that it had, we don't know how exactly, but the crystal skull, its energy, its digital lattice system, whatever it was, it interfered with that game and the circuit board and stuff of the game and froze it. I mean, just froze the game, right in the middle of the game, and the TV screen was frozen.
Really?
In a picture, yeah, and that had never ever happened, before or since. And we still have that game here, and have it play it all the time, but it's never done that.
Jeez, there we
go.
So
yeah, as far as I can tell, when the crystal skull actually gets around electronic things, it starts interacting with them.
Exactly. There might be some kind of receiving or transmission going on. I mean, in connection to the computer game, it just need a slight, interference or, a 1 or a 0 more or less in there to actually, totally freeze up, as you say, basically. So.
Yeah, I mean, there really is something to crystals, and within the whole kind of esoteric world, and here in the United States, in South America too, there are a lot of crystal shops. Many of the best crystals come from Brazil, actually. And
by the way, just to run this by you, didn't they actually find something that they archaeologists refer to as the Fortress of Solitude? But this was in South America, a huge complex with giant crystals.
Giant crystals, that's right. Yeah, that was in Mexico, actually.
Really?
Yeah, with those giant crystals. Yeah, those aren't quartz crystals, though. But yeah, I saw those pictures, and in fact, that was also in our magazine, World Explorer. Yeah, those huge crystals. Yeah, amazing. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, very amazing.
Yeah, and when you look at ancient civilizations, they were very big on crystals. Most witch doctors and shamans, they always carried a crystal in their little medicine bag and things like that. I mean, there's so many things that kind of seem very ordinary to us, but have kind of extraordinary capabilities. Boomerangs are like that. And we think of boomerangs as being an Australian Aboriginal thing with throwing boomerangs at kangaroos and things like that. But yet boomerangs were found all over the world. And boomerangs were an Egyptian thing. The Egyptians hunted with boomerangs. When they opened Tutankhamun's tomb in Egypt, there was an entire trunk of boomerangs inside his tomb. Yeah. In the Olmecs and Mayans, and also Aztecs, Hopi Indians, other Indians in the American Southwest, they hunted with boomerangs. Boomerangs have been found in Denmark and in Poland. Boomerangs found all over the world, and not just, say, in Australia. So the whole world is just full of unusual things and interconnected. The more you look at history and cities around the world and the legends, it all becomes very interconnected. And that's a lot of what my books on lost cities and the Olmecs and technology of the gods are all about.
Speaking about interconnectedness and, of course, King Tut that you just mentioned, and tying back into the idea of ancient atomic warfare. A while back, there was a news story that came out that actually talked about something called Red Storm. This is a basically global supercomputer created by something called Cray Inc. together with a corporation that is called Sandia Corporation. And what is interesting here is, of course, that Sandia National Laboratories were, their roots go back to World War II and the Manhattan Project, and they, of course, were a company that was first,